What's up, guys? Today we're diving into a review of the Brooks Ghost Max. So this is my Christmas present from Charlie a few weeks ago, and I got about 30 miles on it that first week. I wasn't really loving it. I was coming off of a super high mileage week, and Christmas was my down week. I was only running about 75 miles that week, and nothing really felt too good. I was running in this, I was running in the Vomero. It just felt like I couldn't turn over the legs. I also think I might have caught some sort of sickness that week, and I was just grinding through some miles. So I put this to the side. I didn't run in it at all since that week, and I finally took it out again yesterday after letting it rest dormant. I'd been wearing it for some casual use around town. I wore it to the park with my kids. I wore it on my trip out here to Duke, and after my week of running exclusively in the Velocity Nitro 3, I thought this would be the perfect time to give this another shot. And running in this back to back with the Velocity Nitro 3 after running in that exclusively for 6 days, 100 miles, really highlighted some of the key benefits of the Ghost Max and made me realize what I was missing in those first few runs with the shoe. So in this review, I'm going to dive into my experience with the shoe so far, what I'm loving about it, what I'm not liking about it. I'll also dive into the upper, ride, fit, overall vibe of the shoe, and whether or not it's right for your rotation. If you are interested in buying the Ghost Max, make sure to use my link. I'll put it in the description below. Using my link through Running Warehouse supports the channel. Running Warehouse also has a 90-day return policy, so if you don't get along with the shoe and you never get past that initial phase like I did, you can send it back, no questions asked. Also, if you're unsure whether the Ghost Max is right for you after watching this review, make sure to use the running shoe matcher tool on Supwell. You can answer 5 questions. It will match you with the right shoe for you based on your goals and preferences. Also, we have the best deals, and you can see my picks on the site. So no matter your shopping preferences, we got something for you. Go ahead and check out supwell.io. All right, let's get into it. So the Brooks Ghost Max is Brooks's modern attempt at a max cushion shoe. Now the brand is known for comfort, they're known for reliability, but they're also known for throwing 87-mile-an-hour vanilla fastballs down the center of the plate. The Ghost Max takes the brand in a different direction away from their super high drop bland styling, and for me, when I first saw this shoe, I was blown away by how it looks. I absolutely love the aesthetic of this thing, especially in this pure gray colorway. It matches perfectly with my Canberra hoodie and the Lululemon pants that I wear every day. Yes, I'm just a basic suburban dad, but it really hits the mark for the category that I think they're going for, which is a bit of a more youthful energy, a bit of a younger runner, something fresh and a modern approach. To me, after I unwrapped the shoe on Christmas and walked around in it and have spent some time with it, it reminds me of a modern version of the New Balance 990, especially in this pure gray colorway where it's going for that normcore aesthetic. It's not too flashy, but it just has the right design cues in the right places to make it hit really well for casual wear. It's clean, it's simple, and it looks great. In terms of the running specs here, they're using a supercritical EVA foam in the midsole. It's the same compound that's in that Ghost right now. The V2 of the shoe is actually going to have a new, slightly softer compound, so it'll be really interesting to see the changes that they make. I was able to see that shoe at TRE, hold it, and it looks like it will be a nice progression based on what we have in the Ghost Max here. But in the V1, we have a 39mm heel and 33mm forefoot for a 6mm drop. This also comes in around 10 ounces, which is on the heavier side for a daily trainer, but right in the middle for these max cushion style shoes. Now diving a little bit deeper into the midsole here, as I mentioned, they're using this supercritical DNA loft foam. This is not the softest compound, it's not super firm, and it actually took a little bit of time to break in. So you can see now, if we zoom in here, I'll make sure I get some crispy B-roll for you guys. We actually have some creasing in the midsole now. I think this is gonna be my new rule for EVA-based shoes. If it's not creased, it's not ready for you to judge it. You gotta wait for these EVA midsoles to break in. In every EVA shoe that I've ever run in, and that's the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3, Adidas Audi Zero SL, some of the old Nikes, and now this Brooks Ghost Max. You gotta put about 30 to 70 miles, depending on how firm the shoe is, for the midsole to get its true character. Now, right out of the box, this was a little bit on the stiffer side, and although it is a supercritical foam, when we hear supercritical, when we know that it's gone through that process where the gas has been injected, we think of Light Strike Pro, we think of some of Ultra's foams, we think of that Puma Nitro foam, we think of what Skechers has done. The Brooks supercritical foam in this shoe and in that DNA Flash in the Hyperion Max is not really the same as all those other foams I've outlined. It's a little bit on the firmer side across both of the foam in here and the Hyperion Max, and in here it is going to require some break-in to soften up and to get that character that us runners love for these cushioned max stack shoes. Now I'll dive a little bit deeper into how it performs out there on the run, but one thing I did want to highlight is they call this shoe a 6mm drop shoe. But if you look at how this platform is constructed, all the way up here, which is pretty much under the ball of your foot, it still feels like it has the same amount of stack as the back. And where it really starts to taper up is right here near the toes. So this rides almost like a 0 drop shoe or a 4mm drop shoe, and there is a little bit of a rocker. I know a lot of reviews out there have said this is a highly rockered shoe. This is not a highly rockered shoe. It's got a little bit of a toe spring out here. It does not ride like a highly rockered shoe. It does not ride like a 6mm drop shoe. It does really work your calves and lower legs, so that is something to note. Brooks went all the way in the opposite direction from that 10mm, 12mm drop that is common across the rest of their line. Out there on the run, my first few runs with this were not great. Now, in my first run review, I was trying to be nice because I was biased because Charlie bought me the shoe. I didn't want to hurt her feelings, but I did not love the shoe. It felt stiff, it felt firm, it felt clunky, it felt awkward. I just could not turn over my legs in it. As I mentioned, I needed something a little bit more than what this offered. I'd been running a lot in the New Balance 1080, which is a super soft cushion shoe, and that's what I was expecting from the Ghost Max. I was expecting something that just pampered my legs, that made it super easy to run along, that felt like a nice sourdough bread rising in the kitchen. This did not feel like that. I did 3 8 to 10 mile runs in it that week. None of them were great. One of the runs I had strides in there, didn't feel like it could go fast, and I was just a little bit confused where this shoe would fit in my rotation. So after wearing it around town, I realized this was a super comfortable shoe. It felt great standing on it. It's a really natural feeling shoe because it does have that flatter platform. It's not like the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3 or one of these more rockered max cushion shoes that feel a little bit awkward walking around. Even something like the Gel Nimbus, I do not like walking around in that. It feels like a little bit too much foam and just not the most natural. This felt great in the few weeks that I was using it for casual use. And once I started running it, and again, this week, something just clicked. Now, I've been doing most of my runs, or if not all of my runs, on the treadmill since I got down here to Duke a few days ago. And so yesterday, I did 2 treadmill runs with this shoe. I did a 6-miler in the morning, and then an 8-miler in the afternoon. And then this morning, I just am fresh off of my 14-mile steady effort in this, which was the fastest pace I've done in the shoe. So in that last run that I just did, I did 2 miles of warm-up around 8:30, 8:40. I did 10 to 11 miles at 6:50 pace, and then I finished with a few miles at 6:18 pace. And of all that work, where the shoe has started to feel best is in those normal everyday running paces. And that's where my confusion was. This is marketed as a max cushion shoe, and for us runners, the core consumers in this segment right now, when we hear max cushion, we think soft. That's why a lot of runners did not like the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3. That's why a lot of runners were confused when even the Super Blast came out and they ran their first few miles in it. They're saying, this is a 45mm stack. Why is it running so stiff? Why is it running so firm? That's the same thing that was going on with the Ghost Max for me. This is not one of those soft max cushion shoes. This is going to be a little bit firmer, but once you break it in, it's that Goldilocks feel that I talk about with daily trainers, not too soft, not too firm. So this is not a recovery shoe. This is a slow daily trainer. This is a max stack daily trainer. So if you want something super comfortable, super cushion, that's super soft, that's gonna be the 1080 or the Gel Nimbus. If you want something that has a little bit more protection for your feet, a little bit more of that comfort than a Pegasus or a Brooks Ghost, that's where this slots in. So I think some of the core issue with this shoe is the way that it's been positioned by Brooks. I understand they want to play off the strength of the Ghost brand equity, so they're going with Ghost Max, but the Ghost is what should be emphasized here and not the Max, and I think maybe we misinterpreted. We're putting the emphasis a little bit too much on the Max. This is more of a Ghost than it is a modern max cushion shoe. All right, guys, heading up to the upper. Now, the first thing that I noticed with this upper is that the toe box is pretty generous in this. I mentioned this in one of my videos earlier this week, but I have tons of room up in the toe box. It's not necessarily super long, but I think the width of it is great, and if you have a slightly wider foot, you should have no issues. Now, in the Hyperion Max, I cannot say the same, so I do think that's one of the areas that they look to intentionally improve in the Ghost Max, because this is a shoe that they're using to try to capture some more of the market that they're not speaking to right now. The material is a breathable engineered mesh. On the treadmill, it's been great. My feet haven't heated up at all. And then for the tongue, we got a padded tongue here. It is not gusseted at all. So that is one thing to note, but we do have one of these little tongue stays in the middle here. so you'll be able to lock it down in place. Now, around the back, we have a little bit of a heel counter here. It's not going to be as robust as a plastic clip we might see on the Shift 3, but it is pretty solid and does give a little bit more support back here. Now, the stability was decent. We do get a little bit of that wrapped foam out in the back to hold the heel in place. I had no issues with slipping or lockdown, and overall, the upper felt like it contained my foot really well, no matter the pace in the shoe. I do think this is a shoe where you have to focus a little bit more on getting the right lockdown though. So after running in the Velocity Nitro 3, that thing was super easy to get a good lockdown because it has a more narrow fit just overall. And this, you are gonna have to fiddle and fuss with the laces just a little bit to get the foot right. But once you learn how to do that, you shouldn't have any issues tying or retying the shoe. Now, one cool thing that I like that they did on the upper here is they have this little rubber piece on the top of the lacing system here. It doesn't probably add any function, but it is just a nice little design touch. And overall, I love the design of the shoe. It is so clean. I like wearing this for casual use way more than my Vomero. And I think if my 17-year-old self heard me say that I think a Brooks is cooler than a Vomero, I don't know what I would do. In terms of the padding, we got a decent amount of padding here. This is definitely not as coddled overall as something like the 1080 or the Nimbus, but it's just a slight amount of padding here. Laces are solid as well. They're these nice circular soft laces, meaning if you crank them down, you're not going to get lace bite. It's a really comfortable system that we have here. More similar to a traditional daily trainer than it is to a max cushion shoe. So overall, the spirit and the ethos of the shoe, as we're seeing in the upper, is definitely more of that daily trainer style. And then the max cushion comes in from a little bit more of that stack underfoot, but not necessarily giving you the most robust comfort experience in the upper. All right, guys, in terms of the outsole and durability, I have 50 miles on this and there's absolutely no wear on the outsole, which is wild. I tend to be a pretty heavy scuffer. I've also been using this for everyday use, so this thing looks like it's gonna be an absolute tank. And given that it took 50 to 70 miles to break in the foam, that is a great sign for the durability. Any shoe that requires a little bit of break-in is going to be way more durable than a shoe that feels good out of the box. For example, if you look at the Gel Nimbus and the 1080, those shoes feel amazing out of the box. But specifically in the case of the Gel Nimbus, the performance of that foam starts to degrade around the 225 to 275 mile mark for me. And for lighter, more efficient runners, it might be around the 325 to 400 mile mark. But this thing here is gonna last for 400, 500 miles. I'm sure if I decided to put a ton of miles on this thing, I could take it to that 350, 400 mile club that I've taken the Triumph and the Shift. I don't think I'm gonna do that with this just because I like wearing it for casual use and I have some other shoes that I wanna run in. But this should be a super durable shoe over the long term. Now, in terms of who this shoe is best for, if you're looking for a soft, comfort-oriented shoe that's gonna coddle you for your recovery pace days, those days where maybe you just ripped off a hard workout, some threshold pace the day before, you just wanna cruise along at a slower than 2 minutes than your marathon pace, this is not the shoe for you. Do not buy the shoe if you want a soft recovery shoe. Buy the 1080, buy the Gel Nimbus, buy the Nike Invincible, buy something that is not the Brooks Ghost Max. However, if you want a daily trainer that's gonna offer a little bit more protection than the Brooks Ghost, the Pegasus, that's gonna have a little bit of a firmer, more structured feel than what you might get from a Convara or one of those more minimalist shoes. Maybe you're coming from Ultra and you don't like the feeling of those zero drop shoes anymore. Maybe your Achilles is hurting a little bit too much. This is going to be the shoe for you. This is a max stack daily trainer that runs like a low drop shoe and that has just the right amount of comfort for those daily miles. Now, I believe Brooks is going to be coming out with another max cushion shoe. I think it's going to be the Glycerin Max, and that one should offer more of that traditional recovery running slow shoe experience. The Ghost Max does do one job really well, and that is being a protective daily trainer. They might have missed the mark just a little bit with the marketing and emphasizing what this is best for, but after putting some miles in it, I can tell you this is a solid shoe, and if you know what you're getting into when you buy it, it will do the job quite well. It's definitely not a fast shoe. You're not going to want to put some workouts in, but for those everyday miles where you just want to get out there, clip off some miles at your standard pace, this is a great shoe to do the job. And if you want something that looks great, don't at me. Yes, I've said it 3, 4, 5, 6 times. This Brooks shoe looks awesome, and this is a shoe for you. All right, guys, so there are my thoughts on the Brooks Ghost Max. As always, thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with another video.